Greetings and welcome back to Haftarot, the weekly videocast where we take a look at this coming week's Haftara, the section from the Nevi'im that's read after Kriyat Torah. My name is Yitzchak Etshalom, and I'm delighted to be sharing with you the very special Haftara of this week, Parashat Vayishlah. Now, again, our goal in this very short presentation is to take a look at the Haftara in its own context and to see how it is connected with that parasha and why it was selected to represent or to stand in lieu of the reading of the parasha. Parashat Vayishlach has a whole lot of different themes. It starts with the reunion between Yaakov and Esav, which is interrupted with the famous wrestling match between Yaakov and the Malach. It is followed by the horrific scene in Shechem. It starts with the rape of Dinah and then the massacre of the people of Shechem by Shimon and Levi. And then it concludes with the birth of Binyamin, the death of Rachel, and then the list of Esav's descendants. An interesting piece about Parashat Vayishlach is it begins and ends with the same character, which is Esav. Esav, who's somebody who we think of as quite a secondary character and something of a heinous character, is sort of central to the whole story of Vayishlach, which will explain why the Haftara is what it is. But first, I'd like to share with you a few things about the Haftara and where it's found. It is found in a section of the Nevi'im known as Treasar. Treasar or Shnemasar literally means 12. That's all it means. And you have in front of you the list of the 12 Nevi'im whose books are in Treasar. And as I wrote on the side here, the reason they were collected, as the Gemara tells us, is because each one of these collections of prophetic rhetoric was very small, and they are very small. The longest one is 14 short chapters, both Hosea and Zechariah having that length. And as a result of that, a small book gets lost if it's on its own. So they put them all together into a book that itself is still shorter than the book of Yeshayahu, both in chapters and in length. And so you can see how short the books are. A couple of these books are books that we're familiar with, such as the book of Yonan, number 5 on the list, which we read on Yom Kippur. We recently read from the book of Malachi, the first part of Malachi, and the Haftara for Vayishlach is the entire book of Ovadia. The entire book of Ovadia is the only book in Tanakh that is one single chapter long. Ovadia has 21 verses, and that's the whole book, and here it is. So the Haftara is Chazon Ovadia. We do not know when this Ovadia lived, although I'm going to make a suggestion about it. But there is a suggestion that some make that this is the same Ovadia who's mentioned explicitly as somebody who works for Achav Melech Yisrael. However, for several reasons, it's highly unlikely, even though that Ovadia, it was secretly a committed Jew who worked against Achav and helped hide 100 Nevi'im and save them from Achav's evil wife Izabel. Nonetheless, this Ovadia seems to be operating at a different time, and in a time in which there is no longer Malchut Yisrael, a northern kingdom, and seems to be towards the end of the First Commonwealth. And I'll explain why I'm making that suggestion here. But this vision is a vision that is directly aimed at one nation, and that is the nation of Edom. And as we read at the end of Parshat Vayishlach, Edom is Esav hu Edom. We already heard about that a few weeks ago. We heard about Esav asking for the red stuff, Al-Kain Karashmo Edom, that's why he's called Edom. But the nation of Edom traces its lineage back to Esav hu Edom. And this is a prophecy directed at Edom. And I want to show you a few psukim here, both the beginning and the end, and it's about the destruction of Edom. And it's about a day of reckoning against Edom, which seems to pick up right where our parasha left off, which was Yaakov, Esav, a tense reunion that ends up peacefully, but Yaakov and Esav separate, and then we get a whole long list of Esav's descendants, which you would think we don't really care about, except that we're going to contend with them later on in history. And this Haftara brings it full close, as we'll see. It begins as follows: Chazon Ovadia. Kormar Adonai Elohim le'Edom, Shmua Shamanu me'eta Adonai v'tzir b'goyim shulach, kuma v'nakuma le'ali milchama. So we heard, this is what Hashem says to Edom, we have heard something, we're going to go to war. And now, what's Hashem's word to Edom? Hinei katon netaticha b'goyim bazuya tameod. You're a small nation. You're a degraded nation. Zdon libcha yishiacha. It's the viciousness of your heart, the seething of your heart that has misled you and has pushed you. Shochlim b'chagvei salam marom shivto. Remember the Romiyah Ordeni Arts, and you think nobody can take you down. Im tag bia kanesher. Ben kochavim sig kinacha. If you think you can fly up like an eagle and you could put your nest among the stars, misham oridchanu madonai. I'll take you down from there. And it goes on to really tear apart Edom and Edom's dreams of grandeur, of military prowess and of political power that they never really do achieve in history. We take a look, and we're going to look at the last few psukim in pasuk, starting from pasuk Yod Zayin. When all is said and done, the mountain of Zion is going to be where the remnant of Israel will come. And it seems to be a prophecy about a restoration of the northern kingdom, which is Beit Yosef and Ephraim, that Yaakov will be the fire, Yosef will be the flame, and Esav will be the straw. And they will light them and they will destroy them. And Esav will have no more remnant, nobody will be left. Now notice this, there'll be a pleta of Yehuda, a remnant of Yehuda, there'll be no more remnant of Esav. The people who live in the Negev will take control, will disinherit the mountain of Esav, which is Har Seir in southwest Jordan. Vashvela at Plishtim. In the meantime, the people in the lowlands will inherit from the Plishtim. V'yashu et stay Ephraim, but stay Shomron, V'inyamin et Hagilad. In other words, the Jewish people will reconquer their land. Baruch Hashem, we live in a generation in which we have seen this nevuah come true. Galut hachel hazel b'nei Yisrael asher knanim ad Sarfat. Sarfat, which is what Rishonim already referred to France with that name, is a city mentioned several times in Tanakh, and it's a city in Lebanon. Galut Yerushalayim asher b'Sfarad. Sfarad is the town of Sardis, also in Lebanon. Yershu Eitarei HaNegev. So again, the Jews are going to come from these exile places, and they will take control over the land. And what will be the final piece? Ve'alu Moshiim Bahar Tzion Lishpot et Harisav Aital Adonai Hamlucha. So the saviors who come to Har Tzion will then come, and Lishpot here means to rule over Har Esav, and then it will be God's kingdom. God's kingdom will not be complete, as Chazal tell us, until Esav is conquered. Chazal tell us this in a different context that has to do with Amalek at the end of Parashat Beshalach. Ki yad al kes ya, Rashi there quotes the Midrash, Ein Hashem Shalem ben Kisei Shalem. It's case instead of Kisei, and it's Yah instead of Hashem's full name, because until Amalek is destroyed, until Esav is destroyed, Hashem's name is not complete. That's when Hashem's kingdom in this world will become realized. The seeds are planted in Parashat Vayishlah, Esav on both sides of the Parashah, and this nevuah takes us to the very end of that story when Esav will ultimately be destroyed. A wonderful Shabbat, and enjoy the Kriyat Torah, and of course enjoy the Haftara.